Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Chrissy here. If you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. Turn on the post notifications because we post in every single week. We are back with another story time. I know my last story time was a little serious. This one is serious too. Not something to play about, but we're gonna keep throwing some humor in there just to try to lighten it up a little bit. We got to get into it. I don't know what else to do, guys. What do you guys want me to do? Because like I love telling my stories, you know, like I love adding the little edits in there, making it fun, but like what else do y'all want to see? Like if y'all just want to see story times, let me know. If you want to see something else, you gotta comment down below and I'll do it. Without further ado, let's get into this story because it is a long story. If you like true crime, you're gonna love this. Get your snacks. I'm gonna give you time. Get your snacks, get your drink, get whatever you need. It's gonna be a lot for me to tell this. The story starts with me just being outside, waiting for an Uber to go to my friend PJ's house. That's not his actual name, so calm down. I was waiting outside. A white car pulls up. It was like a white Honda. It had a little bit of tint on the windows, and then in the front, like on the dashboard, I could see this like little dancing hula ornament, kind of like you see in the movies, because I don't see many people with that these days. When I did use Uber though, I did not use it often, but when I did use it, I knew better than to get into any car without making sure the information matched. You know, I'm looking at the car, looking at my phone, like, yep, it's a white car, white Honda, yep. And then when I walked around, I looked in the back and I made sure the license plate matched. And it matched what was on the app. So I was like, okay, cool. Cause you know, you can't get into these Ubers without matching the information. You know, I've heard a lot, you hear so many Uber horror stories or Lyft horror stories with the passenger and like the drivers. Like the drivers got some horror stories about the passengers, and then the passengers got horror stories about the drivers. So it's like, is it really safe to even get into Uber at all? After this story, you're probably gonna say no, because I don't think so. You just gotta be careful. So that's why I was like, yeah, let me make sure this information is matching before I step into this car. So when I walked up to get into the car and check the license plate, I noticed it was like, the car was super rusty. That was one thing that that stood out to me. I was like, this car is real rusty. Like even in the back, like on the trunk, on the license plate, it was like real rusty. It was just like flaking off everywhere. I was like, this car is like, this car been through it. You know, I'm not one to judge, so I was just like, I'm just gonna get in the car, girl. I mean, I just need a ride. It's not my car. I opened the door, I was like, we're gonna call the driver John. I'm like, are you John? And the driver just nodded. He didn't say nothing. I was like, okay. You know, some drivers don't really like to talk, whatever. So while I'm getting into the car, getting my stuff together, I noticed that he's like looking at me in the rearview mirror, just like watching me get my stuff together and get in the car. When I looked at his eyes, like you can kind of feel when somebody's off. Like he just gave me weird, creep vibes. And I was very uncomfortable. Something about him just made me feel like very uncomfortable, uneasy, off. What made it even worse was that he had on this mask, you know, like the surgical mask that everybody wore during COVID. Not the stylish one, just the regular blue one. It looked so old. It looked like he had been wearing it the whole COVID-19. Like he did not change the mask out. Because what I would do, I would wear it maybe like 2-3 times, and then you change it out. Especially because, you know, I wear makeup. It just looked like he never changed that mask. It was real dirty, and that just added on to the creep level, you know? Ugh, it just made you cringe. So, you know, I get into this man's car, and obviously I got it with me. And I'm not talking about no, I'm talking about some pepper spray. So I'm like holding my pepper spray, make sure I got it tight in my grip while he starts driving. I almost came up with an excuse to get out the car and be like, you know what, never mind, I don't even need to ride no more. And then just call a different Uber, because you gotta trust your gut. Like if something don't feel right, don't do it. Don't go to the place. Don't try to brush it off. Don't do that. Trust your gut feeling, because it could possibly save your life. But yeah, I almost made up an excuse to get out the car, but I was like, you know what? This man already gonna start driving. Forget it. I just got my pepper spray. We gonna ride out. We gonna pray and trust that God got me. Okay. So I'm like, you know, let me get my pepper spray. I sit back. I take a deep breath in, and I'm just like, I'm like gagging, right? My eyes are watering. The smell The smell alone was disturbing. It was this strong, pungent smell. The man's car was dirty. The inside was dirty. So I was like, this garbage stinks. It's either this garbage in here, or it's either you, because I know it ain't me. You know, like, you don't just go somewhere stank. You gotta shower. I was just like, oh my God, this is bad. I didn't want to be rude though. I was gonna ask him to roll down the windows, but I didn't want to be rude. So I was like, oh God, let me just try not to breathe in too much. And I know he noticed my reaction because he kept looking at me in the rearview mirror. And I tried so hard not to gag because I don't want to offend people, but it's just like, that smell was nothing like I had ever smelled before. It just smelled bad, like moldy, rotten trash that was like pooped on. Like, it just smelled really, 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 really bad. And you know, I got a strong stomach, but if I'm like gagging and my eyes are watering, that's how you know it's bad. It was so bad. I don't even know how you could let somebody get into your car or go out smelling like that. But anyway, my friend stayed, like 10, 15 minutes from me. So the ride was not gonna be that long. So I was like, okay, let me just thug it out. But he lived on the outskirts, like in the country. Basically on the way there, it's only dark roads, other cars, and a bunch of trees. So while I had to be in this creepy Uber on this awkward ride, I was like, let me just try to distract myself. So I get on my phone, I'm trying to scroll through social media, I'm trying to listen to a podcast, but then I realized, first of all, the connection out here is bad. Number two, my phone is about to die. Don't go nowhere if your phone ain't charged, because you gonna need it. Don't just walk out the house, phone about dead. No. Mistake number one was that. And mistake number two was getting in the car in the first place. I was trying to like track the ride on the app. So, because you can see like this little icon gets closer to your destination. I could barely even do that. It kept freezing. So we had no connection whatsoever. It was bad. But I don't know. This is why I said trust your gut feeling, because something about this man, something about this car, something about this ride, something about the smell made me have my guard raised 10 times than what it usually is when I get into Ubers or anything like that. I don't know what it was, but this is why I'm saying trust your gut feeling. The driver had his phone propped up on this little mount on the dashboard. So I was like, let me look at his phone to make sure he's taking the right route, because if you go off route, I'm opening this door and I'm jumping out the car. You ain't gonna take me nowhere where people ain't gonna find me. So I am looking at the phone on the dashboard, and I'm looking at my phone, trying to like not look, but then I catch his eye in the rearview mirror. You know, from then on out, I just keep looking up, because why are you looking at me? And every time I would look and catch his eye, he would look back on the road. A lot of Uber drivers I'm with don't do that, you know? Like, I've had some creepy Uber drivers, but I always made it to my destination safely. Like, maybe those people were just like socially awkward, or maybe they're just a little bit weird. Never crazy, but maybe they was a little bit weird. I always made it to my destination safely. But it was something about this one that really put me off. I think it was the smell. The smell just was like, ooh, it just smelled so bad. Like, I can't even describe the smell. Ooh, it just made you want to scrunch your face up and just be like, oh. So John asked me,
what are you doing out at a time like this?
And he taps on the phone. He's like, it's almost midnight. You got somebody waiting for you. I don't like that question. That question just don't sit right with me, because it's like, why are you asking if somebody's waiting for me? That's like a foreshadowing type of thing. I told him, yeah, my friend's waiting for me. I said it real quick too, because that question put me off so bad. So when he asked me that made my gut feeling get even stronger. It sent chills down my back. So I glanced out the window. I'm just trying to see where we're at. All I see is trees and other cars and blackness. It is dark. If I ever took an Uber, it would not be at night ever again. I would rather walk. So at this point, we're on the freeway. We're on the highway, whatever you want to call it. We're almost at my friend's house. So I was like, let me just ask. I almost asked the man to let me out. But that was stupid, because we're in the dark. I'm on the highway, basically in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone connection. So I was like, you know what? That's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. We're gonna stay in the car. Plus, we were almost there. It was just like, I could tough it out, right? So I just stayed in the car. The car offered me a little bit more safety than being on the freeway by myself would. So I stayed in the car. I look at the phone on the dashboard, and he seemed to be sticking to the route. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm tripping. But something seemed off. My guard was like up here, like past where y'all could see. Ow! I got my flu shot. That hurt. It didn't matter what he said, what he did, if he tried to make it better. It was just something was off. And Lord Jesus, when God gives you that gut feeling, when he gives you a thought about something and you don't feel right about it and you keep going back and forth, just don't do it. Don't do it, because God is sending you those doubts for a reason. He giving you that gut feeling for a reason. Don't do it. I'm clutching my pepper spray as tight as I possibly could without spraying it on accident and killing us all. I'm holding my pepper spray real tight and I'm looking through my phone. So I'm scrolling through, I'm trying to find PJ's contact. I find it. I'm like, I'm gonna call him real quick just so I can be on the phone with somebody. So I call him, right? It's ringing. It's ringing. And it's ringing and ringing and ringing. And I'm just like, Lord Jesus, I pray that he answers the phone, because I need somebody to be on the phone, because if something happens, at least I know that they were on the phone. So it's ringing and then boom. Hey, this is PJ. And I'm like, oh, thank God this man answered the phone. I thank God he answered the phone. I start talking. I'm like, hey, PJ, this is... And then my heart starts pounding because the message is like, leave a message. Sorry I couldn't get to you. I'll call you back when I can. I started talking way too quick and I didn't let the voicemail, play out. I was like trying to pretend, keep the conversation going, pretend like I was on the phone so that the driver didn't know that I wasn't on the phone. So I was praying that he didn't notice that PJ didn't answer. I was praying that he didn't hear it, because sometimes the phone be loud. And even when you on, it's on your ear like this, people can still hear. So I was like, let me just try to keep it going so he wouldn't suspect nothing. I try to keep the conversation going without stuttering over my words. I'm like, hey, I'm on the way. I'll need some help when I get there with my things. So if you could be outside, that would be great. Even though I was talking on the phone and even though I was watching the driver and his eyes were on the road, it just felt like his attention was 100% on me. Like he was 100% only listening to me and the conversation I was having. And y'all, trying to pretend like you're on the phone, it was hard for me to pretend like I was having a conversation. My anxiety was on 10. It was through the roof. So trying to pretend I was on the phone without shaking and stuttering, it was hard. It was hard. I feel like he already knew that I wasn't on the phone. He already knew that I knew something was up. But at this time, obviously the voicemail had already talked, right? So I'm just leaving PJ a voicemail. I just left the voicemail, hung up, right? And while I was on the phone, trying to pretend like I was on the phone, I'm also trying to pretend to ignore that smell. It was a stench. That's the word you could use. This man completely goes off the path and I don't even realize it. I completely forgot to keep looking at the phone. So this man is off course, not the usual path that I take. I keep on the highway, right? So now I'm like, ooh, this man went off the path. What am I gonna do? So I'm looking at his phone on the dashboard. I'm looking at the driver's phone on the dashboard. And I'm like, what's going on here? The app was freezing, but it was trying to reroute him. But he was ignoring the phone completely at this point. He did not care what the GPS was saying. He was not going back on the route. He was going off course. So I was like, yeah, no, we got to speak up, honey. So I was like, I think you should have stayed on the highway because that's the quickest way to my friend's house. And he's already expecting me. So yeah, I think we should get back on the highway. I say that. And John just laughs to himself. So it's just this creepy laugh, right? And he's talking about, it's a shortcut. I don't care what kind of cut it is. I want to stay on the route. You need to go back to the road before I call 911 up in here. Because I'm not trusting this. I will open the door and roll out, risk breaking a rib before you take me somewhere. If they start going off course, you need to get out the car. And before you get in the car, make sure the child lock is off. Because they creepy people, they think ahead. They think ahead. I'm trying to calm down, stay calm, not panic. I don't want to show this man I'm panicking. I hear a clicking noise. You can recognize it any day. Let me see if I can show y'all the clicking noise. That clicking noise right there, that's the noise I heard. I noticed this man he turned the phone screen off, took the phone off the mount and put it in his pocket. This is when I knew it was getting real. I could track the ride from my phone on my app, but my gut feeling told me that was not necessary because by his actions, turning the phone off, putting it in his pocket, he wasn't going to PJ's house. He had some other agenda going on. So he's laughing to himself and he's kind of being playful, like he was enjoying this, like he was sick. So he's like drumming his fingers on the steering wheel and he's humming really loudly while doing it. I have my pepper spray, right? But what am I gonna do? Pepper spray the man and then we both die in a car crash? no, that was not a smart idea. So, and if you watch the true crime or like some type of murder mystery type things, some of the situations, you know that timing is everything. It could save your life or it could kill you. So I was like, I'm not gonna pepper spray him right now, even though I wanted to. It wasn't a smart decision. So I'm like, okay, I can't pepper spray him, so I'm just sitting back. I can't do anything but watch us go more and more off the path that we were supposed to go on. And then, I'm looking at my phone and I look inside. I'm like, let me look in the app. On the rideshare app, on the Uber app, right? I didn't pay close enough attention, Like I said, before I get into Ubers, I like to check the license plate in the car to make sure that those things match. But that wasn't enough this time. I look at the picture of the driver. The driver is, in fact, not the driver in the front seat. John was the driver of the app. That was the real driver, but the name and the face did not match this person that I was in the car with. John was like an older white man. He looked sweet. He was smiling in his picture, had like a short gray haircut. This man he seemed kind of tall. I couldn't really tell because he was sitting down. He had dark skin. So my heart is pounding because I know now that this is not the driver that's supposed to be in this car. So where was the actual John, the actual driver? While I'm looking down at my phone, looking at the fact that this is not the man in the front seat, I look up to look at the man, and he's looking at me in the rearview mirror. Wrong timing to look at me in the rearview mirror, because I just found out that you're not the driver that's supposed to be in this car. If you're in a bad situation, you don't want to do anything to make the potentially dangerous person angry, because that will just escalate the situation. Like I said, timing is everything in a scary situation like this. So I tried not to say anything or do anything that would make me look like I knew that this was not the person I was supposed to be in the car with. So now I'm just in the car with this strange man who was not John from the Uber app. All I wanted to do was call the police. It's such a sensitive situation, so you don't want to do something that's gonna make the person more angry or more crazy, because when you're angry, you do crazy stuff anyway. But if they're already crazy and then you make them angry, I'm dead. Oh! So I knew that was not the way to go. I just was trying to think of so many things I could do. And it's hard when you're panicking and you're scared and you're trying to think logically about what to do, strategically about what you can do to get out of this. At this moment, I knew that the driver, whoever this man was, had full control of this situation. Because I can't pepper spray him. I would kill us both. Or I didn't want to piss him off or anymore. I didn't want to ask him to stop because he could have killed me at any point. So it's like, what do you do? So I wanted to call 911 so bad. But I knew that he could react quicker than the police would get there. So that was not a good idea. Like I said, I watch true crime or listen to podcasts all the time. And it was feeling more and more like I was in the show, or, they were talking about me on the podcast more than, I was just watching or listening to it. I was so deep in my thoughts that I didn't even realize that the car was starting to slow down and pull over on the side of the road. So you can imagine that when I noticed that, my heart is pounding, and I also knew I had to think or act quickly if I was going to do something to try to save my own life. Because I don't know about y'all, but me, if I'm in a life or death situation, I'm fighting for my life every time. I could be in 50 life or death situations in my whole lifetime outside of this one, and I'm fighting for my life every time. I'm not just going to sit and let somebody try to take my life. Or do something to me. So the man pulls over. He stops the car. I'm like, where are we? This is not my destination. This is not even the path, first of all. No answer. The silence is suffocating. All I could think about is this smell. I'm smelling this smell this whole time. And it's like you smell it the whole time, but there's like these whiffs of it that's like super strong. I didn't know if I was gonna pass out from the fear, the panic, the anxiety, or if I was gonna throw up from the smell. I had so many different emotions, so many different thoughts running through my head at this time. It was bad, because usually, on a daily basis, I'm an overthinker. I have anxiety, so like my thoughts are always on 10, but this time it was like I couldn't even focus how many thoughts were running through my head. It was the smell, it was this situation, the creepy driver, the fact that was not the Uber driver that was on the app. How could I not think to check the actual man that was driving the car? I checked the car, I checked the license plate. How could I not? It was so many thoughts running through my head. Sorry if this is TMI. For any men that watch, for my ladies, you know what blood smells like. Oh! You just know. The smell is hitting my nostrils. And I'm like, I don't know how I missed it before. It was blood. You could smell that irony, penny smell. It wasn't just blood, which is why it was so hard for me to figure out what that smell was. Because it smelled like garbage, it smelled like poop. At that moment, I could just tell that something happened that was very, very bad in this car recently. So I asked, why are we stopping? He says,
"This is the shortcut. I want to show you something. Look over there."
He points out in the distance, in the dark, and a bunch of trees. What am I supposed to see, sir, in a bunch of darkness and trees? You're pointing at nothing. He points out into the distance. He wants me to look up. Mind you, I'm in the back seat. He's in the driver's seat. He's pointing over there. I'm like, I don't see nothing.
He's like, "It's right there. Just lean a little closer so you can see."
I was like, I can see it from back here. And he said, no, just come look. He just kept motioning me for me to move forward. I'm like, I'm not doing that. You want to get me out of this car. I'm not doing that. Obviously, I lied. I was like, I can see it from here. I couldn't see nothing. Most likely, he was not pointing at anything. He was just trying to get me to look. And he was like, I think you should just step out and just see it. Just look at it one time. And then we can go to your friend's house. We can go to your friend's house after. My friend Jesus? Because that's where I'm going to go if I get out of this car with you. He kept motioning and trying to talk to me to get me out of the car. And I did not know what to do because it's like, I felt, like I said, I don't want to make this man mad. So it was like, I feel like if I kept rejecting his offer to get out of the car and look at whatever he was pointing at, that it would escalate the situation. He would get mad, just like kill me, I didn't want to do anything to make him mad, but I knew one thing that I was not doing. Like I said, I'm not getting out the little tiny bit of safety that this car offered me to get out of this car and be in the woods with a stranger. So what I do is, because I feel like this is about to get a little physical here, because it's gonna have to. There's no other way I can get out of this, right? So I'm just trying to prepare. So with one hand, the phone is in my hand, right? I'm unlocking it. I'm trying to get my seatbelt off at the same time. I send PJ my location, and then I go to the phone app just to have 911 already dialed in, right? I kept saying no. He said, no, I think you should really step outside. I can help you get out the car if you want. This man knew I had no other choice. I had to get out of the car. Either something bad was gonna happen in here or something bad was gonna happen out. So there's no other choice. I had no other choice but to do what this man was saying. Because like I said, otherwise it's like, it's gonna escalate regardless. So like, I might as well get out and just get myself together, get my pepper spray ready. I'm trying to think of any way I could get away from this man as fast as possible, right? And I had an idea. I had a few, but was it a good idea? I don't know. I could pepper spray this man, but then what? I could fight him off. I would have to overpower him, but I doubt I would do that. So it's just like, what do you do? And this is one of those situations where you have to have quick thinking, quick movements, because the timing could save your life, right? So I had an idea. It could work, but I'd have to be quick. So he asked me to get out the car. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm trying to act like, I'm cool with it. I'm trying to just trick him into thinking that I'm just like oblivious to the fact of what he's about to do to me. So I'm getting out of the car. I'm like, okay, cool. What you gotta show me? I walk around the car to the front. So I'm in the passenger side, but in the front of the car. He's like walking around from the driver's side to be, kind of right next to me in front of the car. So we're both like outside the car standing in the front. At this point, I had, like I said, I had many thoughts in my head. I was like, I could run, I could run. But then like, what's the point of that? Because this man has a car. He could just get in and run me over. Or I'd be running down a dark street for who knows how long, and he would catch up to me anyway. Like I said, he has a car. So I was like, that's not gonna work. So I was like, let me go to my other idea in my head. But like I said, if I was gonna do this idea, I was gonna have to be quick. It was risky, but it offered me some type of escape. So if I could do it, I was gonna do it. Like I said, I'm fighting. I'm not gonna just let you do whatever. But I tried to sound as genuine as possible, trying to say, yeah, okay, let's just show me what you gotta show me. But even if I sounded genuine or not, like I said, we both knew I had no other choice. There's nothing else I could do. Before I even step out the car, I'm holding the handle. I'm praying so hard, so bad. When I'm pulling that handle, I pull the handle, I get out, and then I'm standing there. I hear the man get out, I hear the door close behind me, right? And the man is a lot taller than I thought. Like I knew he was tall, but he's a lot taller than what I thought. He was tall, y'all. So yeah, the overpowering plan wasn't gonna work either. We're both standing in front of the car now, and I'm looking in the distance to where this man was pointing. There's nothing there. The man was just trying to get me in this situation I'm in right now. So like I said, I have to be quick. So what do? I try to just make a hasty decision. I run back to the passenger side door. I open it, practically throw myself in the car, slam the door, lock it, right? I moved so quick. The man was still standing in the front. I look at him through the windshield. He's just frozen. He turns around. he slams his hands on the car. He has a knife in his hand. I didn't see a knife before. He starts making his way to the passenger door, which is where I threw myself in and locked the door. And he's like,
open this door, I'm gonna kill you.
I'm scared out of my mind, y'all. He's on the passenger side, but he can't open the door because it's locked. So he slams his hands on the window. He's like, get out of this car right now. If you don't open this door, I'm gonna kill you. I blocked the passenger door and the door in the back to where the side I was on, because I knew he was gonna come over here trying to unlock the door. But then he starts running to the other side. I'm like, oh my God, like I have to hurry up and do something, right? So I reach over, I click the power lock button that locks all the doors. And when I tell you timing is everything, because when I clicked that button, it was like this. So his hand was here, mine was here. I clicked the button before he pulled the handle. If I didn't do it quick enough, who knows what would have happened. But that's why I said timing is everything. You have to be quick, punctual, accurate. God was there. His angels were there, because I'm usually not punctual at all. I locked the door. I jumped back from the window. I am screaming, right? And the scream sounds nothing like me whatsoever. But when you're scared, you're gonna let out noises that you didn't think you could make. You're just trying to get your life saved. You're trying to get somebody's attention. I didn't know if anybody was close by where we were, but I was screaming. But I'm looking at him through the window after I jumped back, and his eyes are bulging like he is angry. You can see the veins on his forehead. Like he was scary. When he realized he couldn't get in the car, he had these boots on. He was kicking the window. His foot went through, but it didn't completely shatter the glass. The shock of this whole situation had me frozen for a minute. So I'm looking around. I'm trying to find anything, something. My eyes land on the keys. The keys are still in the ignition. I'm like, dark humor is just like great, right? I'm like, man, you're bad killer / kidnapper. You left the keys in the car. So, also in my head, I know it's serious, but it's like just like a defense mechanism, whatever. I'm like, dang, you're a bad kidnapper. So I grabbed the keys, right? And this man said,
I'm gonna kill you, Christina.
And I freeze. My heart drops when he says my name. And I'm like, light bulb moment. This man was on the real John's phone, the real Uber driver's phone. So that's how he knew my name. So he knew my name, he knew my address, because that's where he picked me up from, and he knew my friend's address, PJ's address, because that's where he was taking me. First of all, where's that phone? Does he still have it? Because if so, he has my information. But at that moment, I didn't really too much think about that. I was just like, how do you know my name? Like, that's so weird. So I was like, forget this. I've heard enough of this. I've had enough. Put the keys back in, I twist it, and I speed off. This man was still trying to get through the window. So like I'm driving, he's trying to get through the window. I hit the gas. He couldn't keep up with the car. I just see him fall back, and I hear this crunch under the wheels, and it was sickening. All I heard was a crunch, and then there was blood. What I'm thinking is the man's arm or his leg must have got under the car, and I ran them over. I hit the brakes, and I was like, dang, let me look at the GPS because I don't know where I'm going, but let me look quickly. So I look at the GPS. The road we were on was a dead end, straight dead end. Nowhere to go, no right, left, straight, nothing. It was a dead end. Kind of like a roundabout, you know? So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to turn around. So I whip it. I whip the car, turn around. To do it, I try to do it as fast as I could without going in a ditch. The headlights are lighting up this whole road that we're on. So I'm looking, and I see the man nowhere. It's just like he disappeared. I was expecting him to be like crawling toward me still, you know, try to like stab the tires out while I'm trying to drive by or something. But there was like no evidence of this man there besides the glass that was there and like the blood that was on the ground. I'm like, I'm not staying no longer. I'm going. So I'm gone. I left the scene. Even though I'm hitting the gas, I'm still afraid that this man can somehow follow me, like somehow. Even though that's very unlikely. Like I'm in a car going about 100, like trying to get back to the main road. This man was not about to follow me, and even if he did, he was not gonna be able to keep up. So I'm driving almost 100 on the main road. There's nothing else in my mind, but I'm pressing on the gas. Nothing else was in my mind except that I almost died. And I'm like, okay, let me slow down, let me ease up. So I ease up off the gas, because I snapped out of it, realized I'm going almost 100, you know? And I pull out my phone to call 911. You know, obviously I'm headed towards my friend's house. I'm not going back home. That's just a dub. Go back home, be back by myself? No, I'm going to my friend's house. So I went to PJ's house. I'm on the phone with 911. I'm on the phone with the dispatcher trying to tell her what the heck just happened to me so she could get some officers out here, right? So I'm trying to fill her in. I'm trying to fill the dispatcher in on what's happening. At the same time, I see that I'm getting a bunch of texts and calls from PJ, and he's texting me like, are you okay? Like, you sounded you sounded scared in your voicemail. What's going on? But I'm trying to explain it to the dispatcher, right? So there's so much going on. Like I said, PJ's trying to call me, he's texting me. I'm trying to explain the situation on the phone to the dispatcher, and I still smell that smell. So I'm like, okay, it's not the driver because he's out the car, and it's not me. So I'm just trying to tell her the experience, tell her about the stench. I'm trying to answer PJ text. I'm trying to think about what just happened. But I finished the call with the dispatcher. By the time I finished the call with her, I'm already pulled into PJ's driveway. So she's telling me, okay, we're gonna have some officers sent out to the scene, the road you said you were on, see if they see anything, and we're gonna have dispatchers send out some police officers to PJ's address to look at this car, pick it up, hand fingerprint it, whatever. You know, I'm supposed to be just going to PJ's house for a night, you know what I'm saying? And then I pull up with a car that got blood on it, and I just went through this situation and this stench. What is this stench, right? And that was a question that was not gonna get out of my head. What is that smell? Because I've been smelling this whole time. And I thought it was the driver. I thought it was this car. The driver's out, so it gotta be something in this car that smells. PJ's standing outside when I pull up. He walks up to the car. He looks super worried. He's like, what happened to you? I can't even answer the question. I get out the car. I grab his hand, I walk to the back. I'm like, what is that smell, right? So I'm looking everywhere in the car. I'm looking in the back seats. I'm like trying to like I'm not like touching any of the stuff in the car like this, but I'm having it close enough to where I can kind of smell it. So I'm like, what is that smell? So it's not in the back seat. So I'm like, what is that? I end up walking around the back, you know, where the trunk is. And that's where the smell hits you the hardest. Like now it's not just getting whiffs of it. This is the smell. When somebody fart and you can just smell it all, like that is like you're right next to them and that was where the smell was coming from. It was something in the trunk. I have to do this quick because once the police get here, they're probably not gonna let me go anywhere near this car. So I take the keys that I have, I put it into the car. The car's old, so you have to put the key in. You can't just press the button. I put the key in, turn it, I open the trunk. My eyes start watering immediately. PJ's over there gagging and spitting, trying not to throw up. PJ's asking me what's in there. I'm like, I don't know, but it's something bad. It has to be. I thought I was gonna end up in the trunk, so it's gotta be something bad. Whatever's in there is covered. It could have been a dead animal. This man could have been a weirdo like that. Or it could be a body. Obviously, it was a body. But who was it? We kind of flip up this cover thing. I try not to put my hands on it because, you know, the police are going to be here soon. I don't want them to think that I, you know, had something to do with it. But I lift it up. I just kind of like fling it up open. And I won't ever forget what I saw in that car. I seen the man's face that was in the trunk. It was Jonathan, like the real John, the real man that was the Uber driver. He had a cut that was coming from here all the way down here to his collarbone, and he had his mouth like open, like he was like scared or shocked, and his face was just stuck like that. And me and PJ were just like, oh my God. And I slammed the trunk closed. This man was almost gray, like you could tell that he was dead. He had this like chalky look. He had fingers and toes missing from his hands and feet. I slammed the trunk and I'm like, let's just go inside. Let's go inside and just wait for the police. Me and PJ went inside. We waited for the cops to pull up. And I was like, I need a drink, for real. So I drank. I spent the night at PJ's house. And in the morning, he offered me a ride back to my house because I was like, yeah, I don't feel like taking an Uber again. So he offered me a ride. And the police took my statement. They took the car, they had the body in the trunk, and they did a whole investigation. So it was just crazy because the few days after that, everything felt like a blur. Like I didn't remember a lot of that. I think it was because of trauma. It just flew by. I really don't remember it. But I do remember one day that I got a call and I was like, oh my God, this is the call I've been waiting for. It was from the detective that was in charge of the case. And you know, they obviously had me as a little suspect, but they almost immediately dismissed me from being any type of suspect in the case or having any involvement at all. He lets me know that they did not find the man. They searched the area. They didn't find the man. And my heart sank because I want the man to be found. I don't want him to do this to anybody else, but he said, you know, we didn't find the man, but we have lookouts at the hospital for people with this injury or this injury and a man that looks like this and this. So, you know, we're going to be on the lookout, but we haven't found him yet. And then before he tries to hang up after giving me all this information, he's just like, you survived a night where you could have been murdered. And I'm like, I can consider myself blessed, but thank you. He's saying, you know, if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to call, blah, blah, blah. And before he even finishes his sentence, I'm like, did you find the phone? John's phone, like the actual Uber driver's phone, did you find it anywhere at the scene? In the car, anywhere? Because like I said, that phone has, I don't know if he screenshotted the address, my friend's address, anything. He could have had any of that information. So he's like, no, we didn't find the phone, but we'll keep a lookout for it. And I'm just like, well, what if he comes back, you know, like to my address that he has, or to my friend's house at that? He has both of those addresses. What if he comes back? And he was like, well, call us if he does, but I think that you're safe. Didn't sound convincing at all that I'm safe, but you know. And I didn't hear anything else. Obviously, you know, I've heard similar stories of other people this was happening to. I've heard Uber just has some crazy stories. I don't know if they verified, background check these people, but this situation was very different because the man that was supposed to be driving me was not driving me. So it was like, it was just like a crazy situation. But I think Uber does like background check these people, but you know, you just never know. So just be careful, be safe. Check every single thing off the list. The driver, how he looks, their name, even the car, the license plate. Check everything. And keep a close eye out to if they detour from the route, because you don't know who's driving you. Or get somebody else to drive you, please. Get a friend to drive you, somebody else, please. Like the detective said, there was no sign of the man, but every time a car that I did not recognize kind of slowed down in front of my house, even though they were just cars visiting people in my neighborhood, I got scared, because it's like, who is this man? Is he still out there? Is he still looking for me in general? This story was basically a warning. Trust your gut, and if you're gonna take even a taxi or a Uber or a Lyft, and you have this uneasy feeling, trust your gut, please. Trust your instincts. Trust your intuition. Yeah, I think the man is still out there if he hasn't been arrested for something else. That's the end of that story. Y'all, I mean, I could tell some funnier, crazier stories, but this is like, I wanted to really get this out the way. But yeah, guys, that's the end of this story time. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment down below, subscribe even, or share it if you want to. Make sure you follow me on social media as well. Turn on the post notifications so you know every single time I post. We posting every week. We are on it, baby. We're almost to 900 subscribers. We've surpassed 800 already, which is crazy. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching my videos. But I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe out.